welcome back. Bicycle Casino today. That's it. That's all I got. That's the intro. Let's go. What's up, guys? Just finished up the session from the bike. We got a lot to talk about. Let's get to it. All right, welcome back, guys. Today we're discussing the Bicycle Casino session I just played there on Sunday, March 10th. Before we jump into the hands, I just wanted to give a review of the casino and the poker room. Just a pros and cons for the Bicycle Casino. Starting with the pros. Number one is it's a really nice room. It's really spaced out. It's well organized. The felt on the tables is really nice. The chips themselves are nice. And the cards actually are probably the nicest cards I've played with. Dealers are really good. Staff are friendly. It's just a well-run, organized room. Lastly, another great thing about the Bicycle Casino is their online and YouTube show, Live at the Bike. They have a lot of great players come out to play that, and it's pretty cool. You know, you can meet these guys, you can talk to them. You might even end up in a game with them if they're not in the room. So that's another thing to consider if you're into, like, you know, meeting cool poker players or just watching some really high stakes action in person. Moving on to the cons of this casino. Number one for me is gonna be game selection. The games just are not that good in general. Obviously, no matter where you go, there's always going to be a good game occasionally. On average, this place is filled with regulars and a bunch of people on their phones, iPads, watching movies, just waiting for a hand. There's not a lot of talking going on at the tables. It's not very friendly. It's just a bunch of regs trying to grind out like a good hourly rate. And I don't know, I'm not personally really into that vibe. As a result, the games are much tougher. Probably some of the toughest 1-3/2-3 no limit I've ever played. I've tried the 5-5 there, and it's also a very tough game. A lot of good players in there. And I don't know, if you're into just a more gambly, recreational, fun vibe, I don't think the bike is the best place for you. In addition, it's a few miles from the heart of Los Angeles, which, as many of you guys know, traffic. If you like to play poker more than on occasion, you're going to be going there multiple times a week. You're going to be dealing with a lot of traffic. So that's another main reason I don't go to the bike, is I'd rather not head over there unless it's like a Sunday, which in this case it was. And lastly, it's not in the nicest neighborhood. For a lot of people, this isn't a factor. I just figured I'd throw that in there, give you guys a heads up. Overall, I'd give this place a 6 out of 10. Really nice chips, nice felt, nice cards, good dealers, good staff. However, extremely reg heavy, tough games, lots of traffic. 6 out of 10. Moving on to poker hands. In the first hand, we look down at Ace Queen of Clubs from the cutoff. Under the gun limps, the hijack limps. We make it $20 to go, and the button on my left makes the call, as well as the under the gun limper and the hijack. So we're 4 ways to the flop, which comes Queen 4 Deuce, Rainbow. Good flop for us. There's no draws available, or not very many aside from maybe some wheel draws. Checks to us and we bet $45. The button gets out of the way, the under the gun player makes the call, and the hijack gets out of the way. Turn is the 5 of hearts. Under the gun checks, and he only has maybe 100 or 110 left in his stack. Pretty easy all-in spot, so that's what I decide to do. We go all in, and he fairly quickly makes the call. The river is the 10 of hearts. I show my hand, and we're good. So nice to scoop the first pot of the session. One orbit later, we look down at 6-5 of spades from the cutoff. The hijack limps. I decide to isolate. I make it $15 to go. And now the button, small blind, big blind, and hijack make the call. So obviously it does not work. The flop comes ace, 9, 6, all clubs. It checks to me, I check, and now the button puts in a bet for $100. The small blind folds, the big blind folds, the hijack folds, and I have bottom pair, which I'm pretty sure is good. So I decide to go all in for, I think it was $450, and he pretty quickly makes the call. I'm just kidding, I folded, and we move on to the next hand. Next, we look down at ace, queen of spades from under the gun. I open to $15, I get 2 callers, and now the button makes it $100. Folds back to us, and the button was an elderly gentleman who I had not seen play a hand in the hour that I had been there. So I think the bottom of his range here is probably jacks. Also, he's 3-betting my under the gun open, which, to be honest, I'm not sure if he's actually considering that, but I should be a little more snug from under the gun, and he doesn't seem to mind at all. Not a good spot to be in. I decide to let it go, and one of the callers on my left actually ends up going all in for, I think it was 120, and the button made the call. He ended up having kings. So good laydown, and we move on to the next hand. I'm not gonna lie, halfway through this session, I started to get a little nervous. I was not getting any hands that I could play, and I started to kind of freak out about not being able to pull together a vlog. I kept getting hands such as these. Open 10-9 of diamonds from middle position to 15. The small blind makes the call. We're heads up to a flop, which comes jack, 7-3, rainbow. He checks. I put in a continuation bet of $20. He makes the fold. We get king, queen offsuit from early position, make it 15 to go, get 2 callers. The flop comes king, jack, 3, rainbow. Put in a c-bet of $30, and they both fold. Then the hand of the session happened. We look down at pocket aces under the gun. We make it $15 to go. It folds around to the big blind, and he makes the fold.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
Next, we get ace king on the button. Under the gun opens to $10. Middle position makes the call. I decide to make it $50 to go. Under the gun folds, and middle position makes the call. So we're heads up to a flop, which comes 7 deuce deuce, 2 diamonds. He leads for 25 on this flop, and that's normally a sign of weakness or trying to set their own price for a draw. And he only has about 130 behind. I decide to take the high variance route, a little more aggressive, and I just stuff it all in. He thinks about it for a bit and makes the fold, so that one works out. In this next hand, the straddle is on, and it folds to the hijack, who was a younger kid who had opened almost no hands up to this point. He makes it 25 to go, and now we look down at pocket 10s from the small blind. So kind of a shitty spot, because if I just flat, I'm giving the big blind and the straddler such a good price to come in, and if I 3-bet, I have to possibly face a 4-bet from this relatively tight player in the hijack, and I'm out of position. So kind of trying to pick the lesser of 2 evils, I decided to just make the call and play it a little cautiously. And now the straddler also makes the call, which is always the downside to just flatting out of the small blind, is you're giving everyone behind you such a good price to continue. Anyway, we're 3 ways to a flop, which comes ace, 8-3, rainbow. I check, the straddler checks, and the hijack continues for $60. So kind of a shitty spot, you know. I don't want to fold pocket 10s to just 1 c-bet on such a dry board with only 1 overcard. Though realistically, he should have a ton of aces in his range, and even the straddler behind me can also have some aces. I decided to make the tight fold. Not a huge fan, but I didn't want to have to go multiple streets with this hand out of position against a relatively tight player. So we just let it go and move on to the next hand. By the way, that hand ended up going to showdown. The hijack showed ace king suited, and the straddler had ace deuce, and he got a deuce on the river. To be honest, I was pretty card dead this session. Not a lot going on. The table was really tight, so there were no crazy hands, though there is this last hand, which is definitely interesting. I open pocket nines from late position to $15. The button makes the call, and now the big blind decides to go all in for, I think it was 35. I decide to re-raise to 110 and get the button out of the way. Sure enough, he folds, and we're heads up with the all-in player, who shows ace 5 suited. Cool. And we get a pretty good flop of 9-4-4. That's pretty good, I'd say. The turn is a 4, and the river is a 4.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
On that note, I decide to wrap it up and call it a session. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this vlog. There's more to come. Once again, I appreciate you guys commenting. Thanks for watching, and see you guys next time. Peace.